Goblet of the Truth. The book of the entire teaching of the prophets. Teaching of the truth, teaching of the spirit, teaching of the life. From Enoch, Elijah, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Immanuel, Mohammed, and Billy Bean. Glossary of the German terms. Ausartung, plural Ausartungen. A very bad get out of the control of the good human nature. Ausdartet adjective. Having got out of the control of the good nature, or of a good kind/form. Gemut. The gemut is the spirit form's counterpart of the material body's psyche. It is that spiritual block and factor which, in the spirit body of a life form, in this case a human being, regulates and looks after the material consciousness-based feeling and the material consciousness-based thoughts in itself, in negative or positive consequence. Gewalt. Gewalt is the brutal execution of elemental might and force, but it is far above all might and all force. Gewalt exists in different and relative forms, one example being a gewalttätige Gesinnung, which is an expression from the character, personality, thoughts, feelings, and emotions that shows the inclination to act with Gewalt. Explanation from Tag Gewalt has nothing to do with the terms heftig, violent, and heftigkeit, violence, because the Old Iranian term with regard to Gewalt means Jula, and it is defined as using, with all the coercive means that are at one's disposal, physical, psychical, mental, and consciousness-based powers, abilities, and skills, in order to carry out and carry through terrible actions and deeds. Gewaltsamkeit. The state or quality of being with Gewalt. A deed or behavior that is gewaltsam. Gewaltlosigkeit. The state or quality of being without. Gewaltsame Gewaltlosigkeit. Something that is achieved in rationality and logic represents a Gewaltsamkeit. Rationality and logic stand for rightness against the illogical/unright, which is being confronted mightfully, however, in a form that is not destructive but constructive, i.e. gewaltlos, without Gewalt. Wesen, plural Wesen. A Wesen is an independently existing life form with its own individuality and personality in an impulse-based, instinct-based, or conscious consciousness form with evolution possibilities that are specifically directed towards everything, and with its own physical, psychical, relating to the psyche, conscious, part conscious, unconscious, impulse or instinct-based development forms, human being, animal, creature and plants. Wesenheit, plural Wesenheiten. An immaterial or material existence form without a self-determining possibility of evolution, in which case, however, this possibility can be given to a certain extent, such as with the creation universal consciousness, certain energies, stones, water and gases, etc. Introduction. In this book, Goblet of the Truth, the true prophet of the new time, Billy Eduard Albert Meier, known as Beam, is once again providing the human beings of Earth as well as extraterrestrial races and peoples with a very significant work of truly universal uniqueness. Originally, he had intended to undertake this eminent and highly expressive transcription in the year 2017. However, for important health reasons, he was induced to set down this extremely valueful written bequest, indeed one that is steeped in history, at an earlier stage. The first lines originated on Sunday, August 19, 2007. After only 5 months and 17 days of intensive work, he completed the task on Tuesday, February 5, 2008. In the course of these 171 days, concealed from our hectic and restless planet and in the seclusion of the Semusei Silver Star Center at Hinterschmadrudi, and during many nights, an epical manuscript comprising 264 pages was created. This work, being only a provisional conclusion of Billy's untiring work, is in its bound form structured as a long series of highly instructive pearls of evolutive shine which have been penned by his hand to date, and which form the psyche and the consciousness. The very short time taken to complete the book even surprised his extraterrestrial friends, since they had themselves expected the completion to require several years. The tome comprises a total of 28 chapters. Similarly to the OM book, 1988, the structure is based on chapters as well as numbered verses, and employs a similar linguistic mode of expression. By the power of his consciousness-based ability, his extraordinary skills and his in-depth knowledge, Beam called up the first 14 chapters from terrestrial storage banks, where they have been stored for millennia in the form of a symbolic picture language. What this amounts to is the original teaching of Nocademian, billions of years old, that has been taught on this planet Earth and spread by his 6 subsequent proclaimers from Henoch to Mohammed in various genuine explanations and in accordance with the understanding of their particular epoch. By name, the following listed prophets have been involved. 1. Henoch or Enoch, February 3, 9308 BCE to January 1, 8942 BCE. 2. Elia or Elijah, February 5, 891 BCE to June 4, 780 BCE. 3. Jesaja or Isaiah, February 7, 772 BCE to May 5, 690 BCE. 4. Jeremiah or Jeremiah, February 9, 662 BCE to September 3, 580 BCE. 5. Jmmanuel or Immanuel, February 3, 02 BCE to May 9, 111 CE. As well as 6. Mohammed, February 19, 571 CE to June 8, 632 CE. The 6 named proclaimers of the spiritual teaching stood in direct succession to one another in the prophet line, and therefore represent a continuous rebirth of the spirit form. The important task rested on every single one of them to announce the original teaching of Nocademian to the earthly humankind of their particular time and life epoch, delivering it to posterity according to their best ability and capability. Like the prophet of the new time, they were also supported and accompanied in their mission and task by advisors and teachers of extraterrestrial origin. Due to the continuously changing perceptive faculty of human beings as well as a consciousness that has continuously developed higher over the course of the millennia, the more developed rational and cognitive thinking as well as the grown cognitive capabilities, the teaching of creational laws and recommendations had to be adapted by the prophets again and again to the new evolutive conditions and taught accordingly. Over the course of the approximately 11,000 years of their mission and their appearance, the spoken and written traditions repeatedly fell prey to oblivion and material degradation in accordance with the naturally given laws of becoming and passing. Until the present time, the prophets of the past millennia had not been given any technical means of recording the teaching of the Spirit for posterity or making it accessible. Only in the cosmic storage banks have their teaching and explanations been retained and stored for all time down to the present day. On the one hand, the purpose and intention of this book, Goblet of the Truth, are based on unifying the aforementioned prophetic traditions and explanations of past epochs as a lasting overall work in one book for the first time. On the other hand, there had been provision for ages that the spiritual teaching of chapters 15 to 28 should be put into words by the last and 7th prophet, the prophet of the new time, in a new and understandable form adapted to the current time, although the content of the chapters referred to is only present in the storage banks as headwords and thematic indications. For this reason, with this text, Beam is once again fulfilling one of his old determinations and voluntarily discharging his duty to expand the teaching of Nocademian with his own edition, in which case it was also necessary to write chapters 15 to 20 in an old written language. The 6 different explanations illustrate in a very impressive wise that renewing and adapting the teaching of Nocademian to the particular given times and epochs is entirely possible without falsifications, perversions, misinterpretations, or the loss of its actual sense and value. The preconditions of this are the true love of creational truth as well as its laws and recommendations, a high level of self-discipline, self-responsibility, sense of responsibility, respect and venerability, as well as a truly noble character as has been developed by the true prophets since time immemorial. Equally, the prophetic records are also a very interesting and exciting contemporary document from a linguistic perspective. Long forgotten and very old terms of German linguistic usage awake to new shine and a new use due to their rediscovery. With their elemental power, they give the mastery of the writing and the expression form of the work a very special distinction and charm. Terms such as chicken-heartedness, cowardice, demand, begging, nobleness, virtues, two-partness, doubt, spirit body, spirit form, allocation plan, budget, venerable ones, holy ones, dwelling of the impalpable, the other world, hazy pictures, delusions, grace, favor, inner world of firmaments, universal consciousness, premium, benefit, consonance, harmony, as well as numerous other expressions that are largely unknown in current linguistic usage enrich and expand the very valueful texts in an impressive wise. The variety of terms used by the old prophets for naming creation is also very interesting. As well as the actual term creation, there are also word values such as formation, primal wellspring, power of origination, the creative, wellspring of wisdom, primal raising, etc. Without doubt and in any respect, this book is a true emerald of real truth for educating and forming human consciousness, the psyche, and the feeling life. It embodies and unifies in itself those profound psyche and consciousness-forming values that are designated in spiritual teaching as love, music/song, poetry, nature, satisfaction, light and peace, and leads directly to the formation and achievement of new knowledge, valueful insights, and evolutive cognitions. Every single explanation and every single verse accompany the human consciousness and psyche on a journey through time into the past and the present, leading the human beings of Earth to the source of creation-oriented spiritual teaching and the members of what are called the Henoch peoples to the traces of their origin. The 7 pillars of wisdom are hidden in the nature of their instruction, namely, love, truth, fairness, knowledge, logic, respect, venerability, and honor. These in turn nourish the 7 basic powers of humans such as strength, rationality, intellect, self-discipline, self-control, self-achievement and fearlessness, as they are also given in the spiritual teaching of being in teaching lesson number 31. With every single page of the book, the journey through his work accompanied by the guardian of the treasure, Eduard, becomes a true revelation of the secrets of creational evolution, being human in the real and true sense, as well as illumination of the open secrets about the sense, the task and the purpose of human life. Once again, this book shows in a very impressive wise how gigantic is the difference between the high, consciousness-forming quality and preciousness of the spiritual teaching compared to the numerous esoteric, cult-religious, philosophical and ideological false and delusional teachings. There really are worlds in the differentiation, logic, logical followability, provability, and power of proof of their explanations, in which the very profound creational truth shines through its simple and convincing clarity, whereas the false teachings resound with incomprehensible complexity and confusion. In contrast to the highly illogical and scarcely logically followable instructions, half-truths, delusional teachings, and dogmas with a cult-religious and/or esoteric stamp, the creational and naturally given principles in the Goblet of the Truth are taught by similes, clear explanations, and logically followable explanations. The instructive explanations are in habitual opposition to cult-religious ambiguities, their apparently consistent half-truths and horrendous illogicality based on a concealed perplexity, overplayed helplessness, and the blatant fear of death of the believers and the heads of the religion, and bear witness to the flight, fear, and unknowledgeness of the ecclesiastics in the face of the real truth. The numerous explanations and emphatic instructions in this book are no theoretical phrases, hollow platitudes, or empty husks of words as are commonly employed by the cult religions, pseudo-healers, and self-appointed esoteric prophets. The creational nature connectedness means that this teaching and its explanations of past and current time are a palpable balm for the consciousness and an invigorating refreshment for the psyche. During reading of the wonderful, euphonious, and consciousness-nourishing verses, the interested reader's feeling life will be unavoidably flooded by waves of the highest comfort, venerability, and joy in existence. In every human being who is really searching and is conscious of the creation, the loving, instructing, and yet also strict and definite words of the prophets will lead to a consciousness-based harmonization, a feeling of comfort and security. Equally, as the result of personal searching and research, they will also lead to a concordance and confirmation of the creational natural teaching with one's own cognitions and trains of thought, by means of which this teaching that is oriented towards the creational law as valueful individual living experience will produce a generally beneficial psychic sensitivity. The Goblet of the Truth is like a final return to a long-forgotten home that one had thought had been lost, and that unexpected and overwhelming view of a gleaming blue Earth planet that is offered to star travelers afflicted by homesickness at the end of a lengthy odyssey across the whole universe. In its highly extensive variety of themes, complexity of content and true origin, this book can only be understood with difficulty by current common sense. It is equally difficult to describe it laconically in short phrases. It is a teaching book that is unparalleled on this earth and, in its current form, probably exists nowhere else apart from on the foreign worlds and planets of the Pleiadian Federation. In other words, on those worlds, which have had knowledge about the creational instruction of Nochademian and keep the treasures of his teaching for millennia in their archives and records. The Goblet of the Truth describes the human being as a link between the fine fluidal and the coarse material worlds. Numerous creational laws and recommendations as well as guidelines and advice on all possible areas of the human beings of Earth that are practical for life are explained in their original form. For those human beings who have not yet found or sparked in themselves the fire of the connectedness to the true creational laws and principles, it might be that the explanations will appear antiquated in their form of linguistic expression and their instructions. However, the prophetic explanations are of contemporary currency and astonishing timelessness in their millennia-old form. It is also interesting that, even millennia ago, the evil Ozartangan and dangerous consciousness enslavement of modern cult religions had been described and warnings issued against their consciousness and psyche-destroying powers and effects. Equally, the earlier prophets spoke about the problem of overpopulation even millennia ago. By far the majority of the instructions is dedicated to humanity, interpersonal relationships, respect in dealings with one another, consideration and the equality of man and woman. Marriage, intimate and platonic friendships, forms of relationship between members of the same sex and opposite sexes as well as human sexuality, separations and divorce are explained, as are enmities, punishments, killing in Ozartung or the issues surrounding the death penalty, etc. Of equal extent, there are numerous instructions relating to the creational sense of the life, evolutive tasks as well as the importance of personal searching, researching and learning. Based on the foundation of creational natural principles, laws and recommendations, a logically followable explanation is provided for one's own mortality, becoming and passing, the sense and purpose of the dying, life after death, grieving and rebirth as well as the relationships between suicide and assisted dying. Many verses also focus on the high value of holistic development, the formation of character and personality as well as working out individual cognitions, practical experiences and insights. Furthermore, the teaching also contains various instructions on the topics of nutrition, health and hygiene, work or personal balancing such as enjoyments, etc. Warnings are issued against consciousness-impairing dangers posed by sect members, false teachers, followers of esotericists, personality cults and missionary organizations, as well as against the theft of spiritual teaching by swindlers, wheeler/dealers, esotericists, and all kinds of deceivers who are greedy for profit. Even millennia ago, the traditions contained multiple references to the last prophet in the line of 7 as well as to his unique and ultimate instructions and writings. Even the Figu Association and the representatives of the prophet merit a mention in the old traditions. A vehement reference is made to the equality of members and to avoiding a cult of the personality, imperiousness, overestimation of the self or false veneration of the prophet or his members. Numerous other topics which are practical to life in the sense of true humanity follow one another in a seamless sequence and make the work a priceless treasure of liberal advice and coercionless instruction. And all this without proselytizing the readership, i.e. human beings, subversively in any wise, without influencing them with gewalt or burdening them with the heavy yoke of a compulsion to perform or to follow. The Goblet of the Truth is based on knowledge, wisdom, the skills and the ability of a true prophet and proclaimer. This is an irrefutable fact, but also one that is dismissed as Billyism by the human beings of Earth in their current level of consciousness and due to their ununderstanding, their blinkeredness, wrong estimation, blindness to the truth, cult religious infatuation and prejudice. However, no single human being on Earth with the current status of evolution possesses even anything approaching the possibilities, the skill, the aptitudes, or the knowledge and wisdom to access the old heritage in the storage levels. Equally, no single human being of Earth is capable of conceiving the facts and backgrounds in their present complexity, momentousness, and in the chronologically meticulous correlation. Quite obviously, this transcription is not the work of a vivid, deceptive imagination or a deliberate delusion based on any licentiousness of character. In fact and in truth, it is part of the life's work of a human being with extraordinary capabilities, a truly prophetic mission and unique task as well as a real ability to access sources of the cosmic storage levels that are unknown to and concealed from the human beings of Earth. Once again, the validity and authenticity of Eduard Albert Meier, the simple cobbler's son, are revealed in the truthly texts of this true proclaimer and prophet of the new time, named Billy and Beam, who performs inestimable services for terrestrial humankind of the new time as well as for extraterrestrial peoples. However, the numerous contradictions, antagonisms, and superficiality in human materialistic thought are very pronounced in this world, just as is the consciousness-based blindness as well as the ununderstanding for creational interrelations and the real truth. Human beings of Earth have specialized in keeping their eyes and senses firmly shut to the creational laws and recommendations, guidelines, and principles. They talk about environmental protection and natural laws. They search for their peace and quiet in the seclusion of the mountains, lakes, and unspoiled nature. They nourish and delight their senses, psyche, and feelings in the image and the trappings of the natural beauty of flowers, plants, animals, and landscapes. Nevertheless, they are forgetting to look into their actual inner nature and into their primal powers that are binding even for human beings, as they also forget to adapt their own behavior to these principles. They wish to recognize their own existence as a part of nature and surround themselves with natural glory, caring for gardens, parks, and setting up natural parks. Nevertheless, they constantly try to move outside of nature's laws and recommendations, attempting to control them with gewalt. Down to the present day, the human beings of Earth have not learned to be a true part of the creation and its laws, principles, and recommendations. Even the smallest stone does not fall unnoticed to the bottom of the lakes, ponds, or streams, and it is indeed registered by their waters. However, even the last prophet of the one line stands as a lonely voice in the overpopulated desert, in the midst of human beings, and so far he has been scarcely heeded. This has happened in spite of him lingering for 7 decades, since 1937, amidst what are now, 2008, 7.5 billion human beings of Earth, and it has not been seldom for him to make himself talked about. Without being aware of the momentousness of the magnificent location of Henoch that is steeped in history, the human beings of Earth have been going about their daily work in its close vicinity. They love, learn, and work, they are born and die, without really having got to grips with this wonderful place and its open secrets. Even from the depths of space, extraterrestrial human beings from the most distant worlds and planets visit and search out this unique source and the hoard of knowledge, wisdom, and spiritual teaching. but the human beings in the immediate vicinity avoid or harm it and the prophet living there. In the middle of this wonderfully beautiful small country and in the immediate vicinity of small towns, villages, and hamlets, there are things and events happening that are really unimaginable for many human beings of Earth. However, this fact had already been predicted by the prophet Henoch millennia ago, who also indicated that the prophet of the new time, the guardian of the treasure, would start his great mission in the land of peace, named Elvet, by instructing and teaching human beings in small groups. His birth on February 3, 1937 in Bülow, Switzerland, initiated a major change in the Earth's history, although one that has gone largely unnoticed by earthly humankind. The silent revolution of the truth had begun. However, with wise foresight and recognition of events in the new time, the old prophets handed down the following in the Goblet of the Truth, chapter 2, verse 137. There were many proclaimers, prophets, who in truth brought the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life, and representatives followed in their footsteps who explained evident signs, proofs, of the truth of the prophets and bore witness to their truthfulness. But you did not want to listen to them, neither to the prophets nor to the representatives. So, every time that a herald of the truth teaching comes to you, which is something you yourselves do not wish. 4. Do you want to be arrogant and continue to insult the proclaimers, prophets, their representatives, and the other heralds of the teaching of the truth, calling them liars, treating them as deceivers, and strike them dead? This verse describes a profound and yet very sad truth that is scarcely understood by anyone better than by those stalwart, industrious, and indomitable human beings who live and work at the place of the truth, in the valley of the horseshoe, in association with the prophet. They are the witnesses of manifold unfair treatment and defamations by the irrational ones, the misguided ones, and the undiscerning ones against the true prophet. However, those human beings have learned from his example how to live with irrationality and not to despair in the face of the illogicality, unfounded attacks, evil assumptions, and the ununderstanding shown by humankind. In the seclusion of the Taos Valley in the Zürcher Oberland, which is accessible to anyone, fabulous and futuristic events truly characterize the everyday life of the members of the Figu Association, free community of interests for the border and spiritual sciences and ufological studies, namely the real meetings of the prophet being with extraterrestrial human beings, as well as the origination of a unique and priceless teaching. This fact alone will be entirely beyond the power of imagination of the majority of the human beings of this planet for many centuries. On Saturday, February 9, 2008, at 7:45 p.m., I was given the signal honor at the request of Billy and Ta to write an introduction to this unique work, the Goblet of the Truth. Within only a few days, I was carrying the printed work with me on my daily route to work, and I was turning it over in my thoughts in order to look for the correct and fitting formulation. The consciousness that my introductory and descriptive words for this work would one day reach many billions of extraterrestrial human beings searching for the sense of the life, many of whom are living on the most distant worlds and planets, occasioned in me a deep venerability, profound respect, and very high regard for the millennia-spanning work of the prophets. Therefore, I carried the old teaching of a true prophet under my arm in crowded trains and cities through a hectically driven world, one that had separated itself from the real truth millennia ago and placed its development in the stagnation of cult/religious teachings and other directed hands of dubious figures such as gurus, putative saints, and ecclesiastics. There could not have been a greater clash between the different worlds of knowledge and wisdom with that of materialism and ununderstanding. Immersed in their everyday problems, focused on the demands of their job as well as their striving for money, enjoyments, entertainment, or what they would call a good career, human beings crossed the ways of the spiritual teaching. However, they did this without having the slightest idea that the true prophetic witness of extraterrestrial encounters and the unfalsified roots of their Christian culture was located right in their midst. The contradictions between the hustle and bustle and the wisdom and knowledge in the Goblet of the Truth were so close in those everyday moments, and yet centuries and even worlds apart from one another. Like an undiscovered seed, the teaching slumbered in my bag, however, with the millennia-old destiny of only fully unfolding over the course of coming centuries in order to become a great wave of instruction, as is described in the Goblet of the Truth. Paradoxically, a unique teaching of the life has been written down on our small planet, which will be carried into the depths of space during coming centuries and will be taught and applied on numerous distant planets before one day finding consideration and recognition on its actual originating planet. Unfortunately, the content of the following verse in this book will prove well-founded for a long time to come. Goblet of the Truth, Chapter 2, Verse 97. The large mass of you does not want to know in any wise, and does not want to recognize the truth unless you can hold the things of the truth in your hands, see them with your eyes, and hear them with your ears. But the real truth of the real truth is not that of holding, seeing, and hearing. Rather, it is that of the inner cognition through rationality and intellect, as well as the true knowledge and wisdom that are fully free from beliefs. Conscious that the tiniest seed is capable of bringing forth a large fruit, it was a great honor for me to be allowed to pen a brief, introductory word so as to present to a terrestrial and extraterrestrial readership this exceedingly valueful and significant book by my companion of many years, discerning advisor, patient friend and wise teacher Billy Eduard Albert Meier, named Beam. My transcription was produced with the greatest of care as well as to the best of my ability and capability, and also in the consciousness that these lines will last for many thousands of years and will be read by numerous future generations on this and other worlds. This book and its teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life and the real creational truth will certainly endure for the coming millennia, be kept in the archives of numerous planets and taught in the schools of many worlds. Worlds and planets will be born and die, but the mothers of all creations and their creational truth will endure for all time, because compared to the creational truth and its might, even the giant suns are but small candles. Numerous generations will follow and learn about the new time and its prophet, so as to recognize the true teaching of the life and the creational truth. With these in mind and in the name of numerous contemporary friends, searching and interested terrestrial and extraterrestrial human beings, the prophet of the new time is due heartfelt thanks for his untiring work on the Goblet of the Truth, as an expression of profound love, friendship and connectedness. Equally, he is due the recognition, consideration and respect for his lifelong forbearance and inexhaustible patience with the humankind of this planet Terra. Dear Billy, may your work in the true sense of Nocademian's idea for evolutive help for creation bear great fruit. May your creational teaching of the life prove helpful to human beings, may it open their senses and their consciousness, and may it reveal to them the true existence and the sense of the creational existence. Thank you, my friend, you son of selflessness and true prophet of the new time, Billy Eduard Albert Meier, named Beam. Salome. Hans-Georg Lanzendorfer. Schmadrudi, February 2008.